All right. So I'm going to talk about OpenStack for service providers. There's a few here in Amsterdam, like hundreds. My name is Arturo Suarez. I work at the product strategy team at Canonical. I've built several service providers in the past. I still have some shares other than in Amazon in some of them. So I pretty much know how to make some money out of it, which is what we're going to talk here about. I did a very thorough research on how many service providers there are in Amsterdam. This is Google VPS or host, and there's a bunch of them, right? Some of them are using crazy things like VMware, and some of them are big companies like Amazon or Azure, right? They all are present here, right? What do all these companies have in common? Well, tendency to orange, which we love, by the way. You know, you guys like it as well. Some host name, right? We saw some even spicyhost.in, which I don't know how it turned out in the Netherlands search on Google, right? And then everything else as well. They do have everything else in common, right? This is what we sell, service providers. We sell these kind of things, right? And then we start tweaking it, and we call it different things, and we put it in different colors, right? Is it cloud VPS, or is it a droplet, or is it a server, a virtual server? Or we put it in the countryside, or in a lake, or in the mountains, or in a little town in Paul. This is all Ilofoten, or we get funky, or even more funky, or we put in the matrix. But at the end of the day, you guys, we guys, are selling compute, network, and the storage in the very same way, right? Shared hosting, cloud VPS, you know, someone go all the way to deliver virtual private clouds, right? Which is the new thing, right? But it's all the same thing. So infrastructure as a service, as we know it, the service providers as we know them, it's a break-even business because we're all doing the same thing, right? So at the end of the day, it's going to go down to cost because the value proposition is very, very, very simple. So we could stop here and sell your businesses and go invest in Amazon, which is winning apparently the market share, right? And go to something else, right? But we don't really want to do that. So how do we compete? How do we win this little battle, right? Reducing cost. There's some way in which we can do that, and we'll go through that in a minute. Or innovating. Or ideally both of them, all right? And this is where OpenStack comes into play, right? Let me give you first a quick tip, right? That reducing cost and innovation, and John mentioned that in the keynote earlier. If you do it on the raw materials, this is the compute, the storage, and the network. If you do it there, if you apply it there, there's that much you can do. There's not that. It's going to get that far, but at the end of the day, you're looking into 10% or 20%, if you're lucky, of cost reduction on the raw materials. The margin you can reduce, or the margin or the value you can add to your customers relies on the operation part of it, right? So how do we win, right? The top half is perception is what your customer gets. The bottom half is what you can do, right? And there are 4 different quadrants. So you can go hardware, and there's better hardware, and there's Dell and Supermicro out there. They can tell you how good the hardware is, or even HP. We do participate in open compute, and you can get different architectures like ARM or Power from IBM, or this little thing called containers, right? You can do containers, right? And that's hardware. Options, this is a perception from your customers, right? Choices, right? SDS, there was a talk from Nexenta, a good partner of ours, before mine, about software-defined storage. Hierarchical storage, choice of different storage, which is not really cost reductant for you, but it adds value to your customers. Like, well, I want to choose cold storage versus super SSD fast storage. Well, you can provide that, or SDN, which is halfway in between what we want to achieve, right? Different software-defined network players, right? That's the efficiency part internally, right? We can do better monitoring and try to go all the way to the automation and reporting, all the way to the automation, which is an icon there, and there's an orchestration that we can get there. The goal of that efficiency is to make your operation as cost-effective as possible, right? I've been doing a crazy traveling this year. One of the good conversations I had in Singapore was with a guy who built the Amazon site in Singapore. He started off with 380,000 physical servers. Do you know how many people he had to manage those servers? Have a guess, Alessandro. Well, your guessing is quite accurate. It was 5 people. 380,000 servers managed by 5 people. He didn't even have 24/7 thing. He was like, well, if something drops, I have my stuff so automated that something will start up somewhere else out of that huge farm of servers, and I'll look at it tomorrow morning, right? So when you're looking at cost efficiency, and OpenStack will be a very good part of that, you still need to compete with those 5 people managing like almost 100,000 servers each, all right? This is where the money is. It's not on the hardware, it's not on the efficiency, it's not even on the options of something that is particularly defined, right? The money is in the apps. The money is on the services on top of what you're doing. We stop offering infrastructure as a service and we start offering services as a service, whatever that is, so big data, Cloud Foundry, container orchestrators, platform as a service, anything that is kind of trendy and innovative these days, we start differentiating from the guys who are just delivering infrastructure, right? This is where OpenStack comes into play. OpenStack is the platform that will enable all those 4 parts of that system. It will allow you to reduce costs because everything pretty much, OpenStack works on everything, right? So it will allow you to reduce costs in terms of hardware, to keep all the choices, right? So I don't know how many software-defined network components we have in our interop lab, more than 15 different software-defined network vendors, right? For software-defined storage, pretty much the same thing, right? So OpenStack is the platform that will allow you to create all those choices of the future, right? All the components of OpenStack are not born equal, okay? It's not that democratic. So there are some components that work, some components that will work. Some of them are real, some of the projects are really new, like we see Murano and Magnum and Sahara and some of the as-a-service things. So, but the level of adoption and maturity is not there yet. I've been selling OpenStack since Bexar, which basically is a miracle, right? It took us 3 years to evolve network to where it is now, production ready, right? It took us 3 years to evolve storage to what it is now, or 4 years to what it is now. How fast can we evolve these into that level of adoption and that level of maturity so you guys can use it? Remains to be seen, right? That's where the OpenStack, production-ready OpenStack, focuses on. The other things are promises. It will get there. There's a lot of people working on that. But real life, that is not that common yet, all right? What does Ubuntu do for all this? That combination, Ubuntu will bring that future to the now. We are able to, through our tooling and the way to do things, to get all those components, all those promises, all the, well, the money is, to be production ready now. Why, how can we do that? Well, we do have our eyes on many clouds, like 55% of the production ready clouds, in fact, are running on Ubuntu OpenStack. You've seen this slide already. There's different models of consuming Ubuntu OpenStack, and it goes all the way from just getting the OS, to getting the packages that are available, getting our way of doing OpenStack, which is a canonical OpenStack. That's distilled experience for 4 years and some mistakes and many successes, delivering cloud, distilled into a reference architecture, into our tooling, into our way of doing OpenStack, right? There's a company that spoke with us before that it took them 2 years to build an OpenStack public cloud, right? We turned that into 2 months with our tooling, right? And it works because we power some of those very big, very scalable, very successful public clouds, right? Or private cloud for that matter. And then we have Bootstack, which is, again, it's a way to get started super early, and I'll get back to that soon. You've seen this before, how we do it, how we enable all those components. Well, we guarantee they work because we run them in our OpenStack interoperability lab. So we have a software-defined network and a software-defined storage and the different components, the different hardware, the different applications even, and we get them running day in, day out, and building clouds with them day in, day out, right? So when we go deliver, and we deliver in a fancy way, you've probably seen Marcin's presentation before, we deliver it with our tool in a kind of drag and drop fashion. We guarantee that those components are going to work with the rest of the OpenStack, right? Some of those vendors, excuse me, there's anyone in the room that's not here, like, yeah, we can do even Microsoft. And I'll show you how we do some Microsoft crazy stuff with our tooling on OpenStack. The choices, it's been a constant here, you know, and it was one of those perceptions that your customer is going to have, are also there, and they come out of the box with us. You don't really need to invest in researching how your Microsoft cloud will work, or your Hyper-V specific workload will work, because we add Hyper-V as a hypervisor in some of our offerings.
Is it limited to those choices?
No, it's just a small slide, so I mean, just for you to see the logos, but there's more than that. I mean, I mentioned that we have over 15 here, and there's a program for that. So if you want to be part of that as well, like this is what, you know, just a sample of what we have. But it's a Charm Partner program. The guys with the pin will help you if you have any questions on that, right? Now, how we do it? How do we bring that future? We talked about OpenStack as the platform, and then we talk about Juju as the innovation catalyst for all that. And I'm going to just show a few examples. Marcin showed this slide, or similar slide. This is OpenStack working on Hyper-V. And it seriously is a drag and drop kind of deployment, right? So Microsoft does OpenStack, and OpenStack does Microsoft. And it has even an integration with Active Directory. Okay? Choices, easiness. Not 2 years, but 2 months, or even 2 days, if you want to take it to the limit. We've seen the Contrail, right? SDN. Well, we can deploy Contrail, but we can also deploy all the other SDNs that were on the previous slide. This is an application that's called AppFormix, right? One of those added value services that you can offer your customers to differentiate from your competition. It will monitor your application, your VM, right? And it will tell you when your VM is running high on CPU, or when it's consuming too much memory, and what you have to do with it. So there's a couple of events you can trigger from here, like the auto-scaling of that VM, and then we start getting into that automation efficiency. If you give this portal, if you give visibility to your customers, they're going to like that, right? Because they know exactly how their application is performing. Again, added value service is a software you sell. It's a software you upsell in your cloud, okay? Another example is like LexD, our container story. It's innovation that you get out of the box. This is going to be pretty much the future. Crushes the hypervisor, traditional hypervisors. We will get 14 times more containers secured with the same experience as a hypervisor per VM, 14 times. So imagine you can make 14 times as much money as you're doing right now with your current VM cell in the VPS or droplet or server, whatever you want to call it, okay? But then there's the services we were talking about the services below the cloud, like how your cloud works, like hypervisors and software-defined network and that application that goes into your VM. But there's also a bunch of different services that can run on top of the cloud. And you can model those services through Juju to create value, right? Let's see some examples here. You could offer a Wikimedia for some of your customers out of the box. This is a one-click Wikimedia deployment. It's not a 5 VMs being deployed and someone configuring that Wikimedia and those services to talk to each other, right? It's a one-click Wikimedia as a service, right? The one in the middle is Rails, a Rails environment, okay? And this is SharePoint from Microsoft, SharePoint as a service, right? And it's not, you're not selling VMs anymore. You're not selling the break-even business anymore. You're selling on top of that, right? For telcos, this is an IMS service, right? Calico Telestacks, you know? Telco workload as a service, you know? It probably takes 6 months for a telco to get this service right. And you're offering it in a one-click fashion, right? Big data, right? You get components from big data, Kafka's over there. You find Hadoop or Spark and all those components. Big data as a service. People spend a lot of time delivering and configuring this. We offer it in a one-click fashion. Containers, with the trilogy Log/Elasticsearch and Kibana. Well, it's already orchestrated for you here, and you can offer that as a service. And if you want the Google style of it, the Kubernetes style of it, you can also get it there, right? So imagine the potential, right? We're not talking about the break-even business anymore. We're talking about different services, and that is infinite. You can build as many as you want and offer a catalog of services to your customers. Imagine you want to do only media companies, right? Well, there's going to be some applications or some services that you can charm for media companies and offer that in an as-a-service fashion. The goal of this is to have a maximum efficiency, maximum usage of your OpenStack cloud. It all starts with OpenStack, right? Or Atomia, another good partner of us. They will give you that orchestration layer. You put Atomia, you put an OpenStack, and you can just say one-click thing, and you will create your products and your VMs and your tenants and all that, right? Have a look at it. How do I get started with this? Okay. The first thing is it's an OpenStack cloud, of course. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You would be in VMware or somewhere else, right? There's several options to get an OpenStack cloud. I'm going to talk about one very specific one, which is BootStack, right? It's a product, it's a program in which we will build the cloud for you. We will operate the cloud for you, just giving you the chance to try OpenStack out, to exercise what services you're going to run on top. And if you want to get your team, train your team, and at some stage, we transfer control. There's no lock-in here. This is a minimum commitment of 6 months, which is basically what it's going to take you to get an OpenStack team proficient, trained. We offer training as well. There was a training in Amsterdam in the last 3 days. But it takes some time to get a full team proficient on that. And let me tell you something, it's not cheap, right? So if you go to the ubuntu.com, you will have a calculator there, and it calculates. So if you want to start small, you're still going to need to operate the cloud, 3 people, 4 people? You're going to be spending $500,000 or €500,000 in having an OpenStack dedicated team to run an OpenStack cloud, right? So BootStack is the easiest way to get you started on that, and then you decide whether you want to allocate your resources in operating that cloud, Or you want to allocate your resources on building all the services that are going to get you the money on top, right? How do I get this? Well, you can call us if you really enjoy my funny accent, or you can talk to these guys in the Netherlands in your own language, right? Fairbanks, they're good partners of us, and they be happy to help on delivering you your Bootstack or any sort of OpenStack. What is also included in Bootstack, and it's very important, is a certified public cloud program, right? So you will get access to a set of images that are certified by us. So your users, your Ubuntu users, will enjoy the benefit of having the same experience across any single cloud, right? They're certified images. You can make use of the logo on all our marketing, right? And just to give you an idea on the value, like 70% of all the Linux images that are in any of the 3 major public clouds are Ubuntu, right? So having that is going to get you a better position in the market, and it's something that you can consider. And of course, our marketing effort is also available for you in this program. That is included also in the Bootstack value proposition. And of course, if you're looking into operationalizing your data center, if you just have the hardware and I want just to make money out of it, and instead of selling dedicated servers, we can operationalize that for you. Just come talk to me or to Marcin, our partner for channel and reselling, because we can make a joint value proposition here and start offering this beautiful service in your data centers. And we will be more than happy to collaborate with you. So what you get here is that OpenStack, the OpenStack of the future. You get it now, and it's an OpenStack that just works. It's all backed by an SLA. We take care of it. 700 people in the company looking after your OpenStack cloud and your services that will make you a different from the competition kind of approach. If you still want to play the break-even business, you can also do it, right? It's something like you can do either or, right? You can both play there. Questions? Yes.
So we already started with Bootstack, and we're also looking at Juju.
Mm-hmm.
So how would we make Juju really commercial viable, and how would we build, for example, our Juju charms to?
Okay, so for the Juju charms, it's something that for our customers. There's something called the Juju Charm School, right? School. So we will help you learn how to build charms, right? There's a bunch of charms, a great deal of charms already there, right? So if you want to, hey, I want to offer, we went through that, like WordPress as a service, highly available WordPress as a service, you can do that right now. It's like configure that, get the bundle, and your provisioning system, whether it's Atomia or something else, should talk to Juju. It's API driven, and Juju will talk to OpenStack, and then you will build from OpenStack or from Juju to whatever it is, right? So there's some level of integration that still needs to happen there, but the core engine is just calling APIs, provisioning this ID and getting this pricing, right? There are tools to do that.
Is integration already there, or
there's no integration there. It has to be built because of the complexity of the amount of services you can have, right? But there are some traditional hosting tools that will do that for you, like in a kind of a 2-month project, right? Hospital or WHMCS or even the same Atomia, they could do that. They already do some of it, but they could do that integration with Hospital. Any other question? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming.